Welcome into the Auburn postgame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. I'm Simone Eli alongside Wes Seiner with AL.com. Auburn fans celebrating a win, 1-0 for the Tigers, a big win over Mercer, 42-16, the final score from the Plains. West, this one just went final, a little bit of a later final than we expected because of the, what did you say, maybe an hour lightning delay throughout the situation over there in the Plains. But it's over regardless, 42-16, the final. Just your initial reaction, Wes, from this game.
First off, I keep just dodging these rain delays at Auburn. Like every time that that there's a rain delay at Auburn, my coworker is there and I'm not there. So I feel for the people that got stuck in the rain tonight. I know some fans tried to stick it out, but from what I could tell, it was a pretty bad downpour. So a little later than we expected tonight. But I mean, I would say first off, you gotta remember, last season Auburn loses their last 5 games of the season. So this is Auburn's first win since like October of 2020.
That's a long time.
It's been a really long time.
Yes.
Not being in the win column for Auburn. So I think, obviously Mercer, small school, not a huge threat tonight, but just getting a win, getting back, to 1-0, I think that's just really important for not just the team, but for the fan base and everything. So I think that it was, good things, mostly good things tonight, I would say.
Yeah. Let's rip the Band-Aid right off and go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, if you will, because you already talked about it in the pre-show. We have multiple comments already about this. Robby Ashford was very impressive. Rodney Williamson coming in saying that Ashford looks great. Another comment from Hunter Stewart says Robby Ashford has got to be considered QB1 after today. Wes, I think that you feel similarly. What are your thoughts after seeing what Ashford was able to put on the field? Yeah,
I mean, I know that they say a lot of times at Auburn, the backup quarterback is the most popular person on campus.
Yeah.
We've seen it before when the starter is struggling or maybe when the fan base isn't completely rallied around the starter. But, I mean, Robby Ashford outplayed TJ Finley tonight, in my opinion. I mean, Finley threw 2 interceptions against Mercer, which other than that, he looked more comfortable and more composed than he was last year. He did look improved. He did look a little sharper, but, you throw 2 interceptions, and that's not great. Robby Ashford, we had a feeling he was going to be coming in at some point in the game, but I think he came in earlier than most people may have expected.
I was surprised for sure.
Initially it seemed like it was mostly packages built around his skill set, which is obviously his legs. But, they had some other interesting formations. I think at one point, both of them were on the field at the same time, and Finley pitches it to Ashford, and Ashford pitches it to.
It was a great play,
something like that. So I think initially they were just kind of feeling out, what Ashford could do with his legs. But then in the second half, you saw him actually put the ball in the air, and he had some really nice throws. And so I think now this is like a full-fledged quarterback, not controversy, but battle that's ongoing. Finley was the starter for this game, but if he struggles and Ashford continues to show what he could do tonight,
then
I think that, Ashford can make a run for the starting job, later in the season.
Yeah, I like the comment that we just got from Christian Crawford, who says TJ Finley should still start. Bo Nix got numerous opportunities. Here's what I'll say about TJ, okay? The pressure was on TJ. He was named the starter. He technically was the guy to lose the job, if you think about it, even though it was kind of up for grabs this offseason. TJ Finley was the guy to lose the job. So, of course, he's going to come in with his back against the wall. It's his job to lose. Robby Ashford's out there playing with house money, y'all. I mean, he literally came in from Oregon. All he had to do was go out there and ball. He absolutely did. I'm not saying that he's not a fantastic quarterback, and this might be his team moving forward, like we just hear from Patrick Purifoy, the comments there about Ashford. That might be his team down the road. But TJ Finley had all the pressure. It's his job to lose. When you are the guy, all eyes are on you. You're going to take the most criticism. If Ashford comes in, the second I saw Ashford take off on a run, I said, this is going to be the main topic for the rest of the season, is who is going to be the guy under center at Auburn. And, of course, it's going to be. You look at the stats. Robby Ashford was 4 of 7 in the air, 100 yards. But then on top of that, he added another 68 on the ground. So Ashford brings a whole nother dimension to this game that TJ Finley just doesn't do. TJ Finley is a pocket passer and sometimes not a very accurate pocket passer.
That's true. And, it's interesting because, like, last year we got just a very small sample of TJ Finley at the end of the season when Bo Nix was hurt. He lost all 3 of his starts. He didn't look great. I mean, he held his own in the Iron Bowl. I think was he didn't make really any major mistakes in the Iron Bowl, but ultimately they did lose all 3 games. And I just think Auburn fans went into the season kind of feeling like, okay, we know what we have with TJ Finley, but like, what else are we going to get out of these transfers with Robby Ashford and even Zach Calzada, who I think was initially believed to be the coming in as maybe to win the job, but obviously he had his shoulder injury and hasn't really been able to progress as quickly as Ashford did. But I mean, again, I think like you said, Ashford gives them a different kind of dimension with his legs. It's something that Finley and Calzada cannot do. They're not that fast. They're not going to be able to scramble that well. So I knew that it was going to be, we're going to see Ashford, and I was curious to see if Harsin does like a 2 quarterback system. He said he has really no issue with that, but I think,
well, here's what I'll say about Brian Harsin, guys. Like, hey, this might be he's only his 2nd year at Auburn. This is not his only 2nd year coaching college football. This guy knows what it takes to be successful. He was at Boise State. He knows that tonight could have potentially played out exactly the way that it did. And it did. So Finley went in there, got a couple things done, put together a couple nice drives, but he also threw a couple picks. He looked like he was kind of nervous in moments. He knew Robby Ashford was going to go in there with nothing to lose. So, I mean, he's kind of letting the play speak for himself. That's what good coaches do. Ashford didn't come in there and start right away. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It was TJ's job to lose right from the onset. He potentially did lose it. Maybe he'll go to a 2 quarterback system, but I think that Harsin is smart enough to know, let this play out the way that it's going to on the field. That's exactly what is happening. So again, I mean, we'll see how it goes moving forward, but I kind of liked the new wrinkles offensively. You alluded to that one play where both quarterbacks were on the field. Ashford got the ball, pitched it to another guy. I mean, I was kind of wondering, like, hold on a minute, Harsin, like, close up the playbook a little bit. You're playing Mercer, homie. You got a couple games down the road. You might want to win and keep that for later.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got to, San Jose State next week will be a tougher opponent, I believe, than Mercer was tonight. But then week 3, everybody's looking at that week 3 matchup against Penn State. Sure. And again, you don't want to, show too much early on when, in these games that, you should be able to handle, fairly easily. Like, I would expect Auburn to beat San Jose State next week and not really have to show their cards too much. So, but yeah, it was interesting seeing some of these new formations and stuff that they have, not just for Ashford specifically, but just in general, the offense, I think, looked a little different tonight, which was, I think, a positive. So,
well, regardless of who is under center, we know this. They're going to get help from whoever's in the backfield with them. The ground game was super impressive, I thought, today. And for anyone in the comments knows this, Auburn's biggest, most successful years has been years that they can run the ball. If Auburn can run the ball, in addition to having a dual threat quarterback, there is no telling what they could do in the SEC this year. Tank Bigsby, 16 carries for 147. And I understand they're playing Mercer, but still just a very solid effort there for 2 touchdowns. Jarquez Hunter ripped one off 19 yards for that score in the first quarter. 3 touchdowns on 8 carries. I mean, when you got guys who are ground and pound like that, getting it done, and an offensive line up front who is getting it done, I mean, that's what Brian Harsin has been trying to piece together in the year and a half or so, 2 years that he's been there, is to get all 11 guys cohesively playing together. And that's really the trick to it. And it seemed like that was kind of what was happening tonight. They were clicking on all cylinders.
It seemed like it. And, when he came in, he had a mix. Obviously, he inherited a lot of players when he came in, a lot of Gus Malzahn players and players that fit Gus's system. And now we're starting to see some of the guys that, after a year that he's starting to bring in. Obviously, the quarterbacks are all people that Harsin brought in. But, there was some question with the offensive line, especially with Nick Brahms basically retiring, announcing that he was not going to be able to play football anymore. And so there were some questions at center. But I think the offensive line did really well. Obviously, a lot of holes to run through for Tank and Jarquez. So, I think overall, from the offensive side, the receivers, I didn't see too many drop passes or anything like that. So I think on offense, you take away the 2 interceptions, I think they did pretty well tonight.
Just quickly defensively, obviously Mercer held to 16 points total. Their total yardage for the day, I mean, last week it was 600 some. This is an offense that can really go. I know it's an FCS school, but regardless, for them to be held, I think, under maybe 300. I mean, that's still a decent effort from Auburn. Obviously, they're going to have tougher, stiffer competition throughout the season into SEC play, of course. But overall, a solid effort on both sides. We got a comment here from Jonas who says second team defense needs to tighten up. And of course, you get when you blowout wins like this, you're going to start to see that what the depth looks like. Obviously, you want to see your 2 deep be solid because you never know when you have injuries. You want to have a second group that can come in and get it done. So, Wes, overall, I think a solid effort on that side of the ball.
I think so. I think I was impressed with the secondary. Obviously, they lost Roger McCreary, but I think Nehemiah Pritchett played pretty well tonight. Overall, I think Auburn's defense is in better shape than I maybe expected, just based off of this one game. Again, it's Mercer. It's not like, yeah. It's not the toughest game. Obviously, Auburn's schedule is ridiculous this year. I think ESPN has them, rated as the number 1 toughest schedule in the country.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to come, and a lot tougher games to come. But I think this is a promising start to the season. And again, just getting a win, I think, for this program was a big deal because, you had the 5 straight losses, all the offseason drama with Harsin and all that. And so just to kind of get back in the win column is huge for Auburn.
Sure. No doubt about that. I want to quickly spotlight this kudos to a comment that we got a second ago. Javarius Johnson, the former Hewitt Trussville standout, had a really, really nice day today. Only 4 receptions, but 117 yards. When you have weapons like that out there, a receiver, I mean, you can just go. You have guys that can bring different dimensions. He has so much speed and so much talent. If they can give him the ball, there's no telling what type of playmaking ability he has and can have moving forward.
No, I agree. And, Shedrick Jackson was pretty involved too early on. I know John Samuel Schenker caught a touchdown pass. And that's something that I think Auburn fans have been looking for. Under Gus Malzahn, you always heard, well, we're going to get the tight ends more involved in the passing game. Sure. And it never really,
manifested.
Manifested.
It never really actually happened the way that it was going to happen.
So I think Harsin is a little different in that aspect, and Schenker is obviously talented. He's a team captain, and I think they're going to try to find ways to get him the ball. By the way, I don't know if you noticed the new team captain patches that Auburn has. Do you notice?
I don't think that I did. What's
Schenker,
different?
It kind of looks like the NFL patches. Like, how they have the C when you have a team captain?
Yeah.
Similar to that. It was a tweak to the uniform that I noticed tonight that was a little different. But I guess it's Owen Papo and Schenker, and I can't remember who the other captain is. But that was just a side note. I know.
Spoken like a true Auburn grad. Okay, looking ahead for the Tigers here really quick.
You're outing me now on the Auburn postgame show.
Hey, you can say it on the Auburn postgame show.
Yeah, that's true.
You can be biased here. That's fine. Okay, Auburn hosts San Jose State a week from tonight. Another night game. God willing, we won't have a bunch of issues there. And then the CBS kickoff, the first game of the year, is week 3. That's the Auburn-Penn State game. Looking forward to that one and seeing kind of what can happen in kind of a blockbuster matchup of 2 Power 5 conferences, Wes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game last year. It came down to the wire. Obviously, I think Auburn fans are going to be pretty excited for that game. It's a big non-conference game. And really, I'm not overlooking San Jose State or anything. Obviously, like I said earlier, I think that's going to be more a tougher test next week than Mercer was. But, it would go a long way for Harsin and the program if Auburn could, get through these first few games unscathed. Because that back half of the schedule is just insane. I mean, well,
the first half of the schedule is going to be right there in the friendly confines of Jordan-Hare Stadium. So that is certainly a positive for several weeks there. And that's what you want. When you have a quarterback situation and you're dealing with who's going to be the starter, to be around guys who you're comfortable with, to be in front of a fan base that's going to support you, that's a big deal, regardless of who's under center.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. I think the quarterbacks are going to be the biggest topic of discussion throughout the next week. I think Ashford was fun to watch, maybe a little more fun to watch than Finley just because of his playmaking ability. So I look forward to see what Auburn does next week and how they handle this, assuming Finley remains the starter, keeps all the first team reps. But, I think we saw some stuff from Ashford tonight that, you haven't really seen yet. And especially when Auburn doesn't go live with the quarterbacks in practice.
Sure.
I think Ashford was out to prove something tonight, that not only is he the fast guy that we've heard about, but he can also put the ball in some tight spaces in the air too.
No doubt about it. All right, guys. Auburn 1-0 after week 1. That's all you can ask for. 42-16, the final over Mercer. This one ended a little bit later, but nonetheless, it's been put to bed. San Jose State game prep begins tomorrow. So we will join you next week in the morning, 9:30, to preview that game right here on the Auburn pregame show. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Auburn postgame show. For Wes Steiner, I'm Simone Eli. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Medical Properties Trust, at the very heart of healthcare.